What up, everybody? It's Andy from Tap FinTech and Cyberfrogs. Today, we're going to talk about Thor and how I personally use it within my own personal trading strategy. If this is your first time joining, you know that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is simply me who has learned how to use our tool known as Thor and Tap to navigate the markets and hopefully give people a little bit of a helping hand learning how to use it themselves. If it's your first time joining, we do have educational classes 5 days a week in the Cyberfrog Discord. If you want access to that, you do have to have an NFT of ours. But you can still come in and get a wealth of knowledge and people's personal firsthand experiences of using Thor and our trading services in our Discord or our Telegram. If you want to learn more, go to taptrade.io and you can find links to all of our socials there. Today, cool. Hey, welcome. We're going to try and do something a little bit different today. Usually I'll use Thor to just sort of, start by, I go like fresh into these classes a lot of the times. I don't really look at the markets or the numbers as much when I try and teach. I do have my own macro positions. I have things that I'm watching out for on my own, but I like to show people how you can use Thor for whatever it is that you're trying to do, either within the crypto space or traditional markets such as stock trading or forex trading. We do focus primarily on cryptos overall, just with the volatility. It's where a lot of our community centers around trading. We do have an active stock trading group too, and we also have a fairly active DLMM trading group who use Thor to help them provide liquidity to get higher APR, APY at specific intervals. That's a bit about what we're going to cover today. If you have a little bit of interest in that, hopefully today's like dipping the toe in the water. But if you want to learn more, same thing applies. Go to taptrade.io. Find your way to our Discord where we have a ton of people who are using it. So today we're going to do some fun stuff, and we're going to start by, I always like to use CoinMarketCap just to get like a summary of the markets. It's not perfect, like actual pricing all across the board, depending on what exchange you're on. It's still a decent place to just see like broad strokes. Let me share my screen for everyone in Discord. Sorry, y'all. Boop. All right. Y'all should be live. Let me make sure. Yep, cool. All right. So Bitcoin today, right on opening, close, same price. Overall, 7 days. Trading's just been pretty volatile. It's been insane. If we're being real with each other, just so much volatility over the last month. Been fun, been hard. Lots of good traders got wrecked. Lots of money was transferred over the last couple of months, last 2 months specifically. For us, we don't really care. We're here to trade any market. I want to focus on Bitcoin today specifically, just because, one, world's largest crypto. Two, it's in honor of our friend Two Sats. If you don't know Two Sats, he's an active member of our community, and you can find 2 podcasts now that he is hosting. Go and support the homie doing cool shit. And so also it's just nice to sort of reel things in every once in a while. It can get really easy to focus on alts and try and find these really crazy, hardcore, high P&Ls, which you can use our systems to find. But it's also nice to just sort of have the comfort of trading Bitcoin. And to start, one of the things that I want to really start out strong on today is the data. We actively show all of our hit rates on our website at taptrade.io/Thor. You can simply navigate to Tap Trade right here, click Thor, and instead of logging into the system, just simply X out of that screen right there. And you now are looking at all of the current and previous data for all of our trading signals. You can find the accumulative since like August 2024. We've tracked every single signal that we've had and released. And in the last 30 days, you can see the active signals as they performed in like a micro sort of spectrum. Things to remember here is that we have a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio, and that is how we present a winning trade. If it hits our virtual stop loss, we count that as a loss. If it hits our virtual 1 to 1.5 take profit, depending on the trading range, that is what we constitute as a winning trade. So it's really good to know if we move our, right now it's 1 to 1.5, and we maintain about a 70% average win rate across the board on our trading signals, all time frames, all assets considered. If we move that down to a 1 to 1.4, our algorithm goes into the 74% winning range. So you can already see, depending on what your risk to reward tolerances or strategies are, Thor can be used with a variance of success. But for us, 1 to 1.5 risk to reward, and all of that data is public, good and bad, on taptrade.io/Thor. Like I said, cumulative 70% win rate, but also something that we don't stray away from or shy away from is if there are underperforming assets on previous 30 days. That does go into the cumulative win rate. Those get adjusted on a macro sense over time, and you can tell that there's a pretty big variation. Even just looking at the algo signals for the cumulative side of things, we still maintain a 2 out of 3 winning hit rate. That's a great trading algorithm. But you can also see in the short term, at least, we've only made a 50%. What we like to say is if you have an algorithm that puts you on the right side of probability alongside proper risk management, that is a winning algorithm. That is a winning strategy. How people use and integrate a winning algorithm into their own trading portfolios, that varies drastically. That is where the strategy, the experience, and the community that you have that you're trading with all come into play. For us at CyberFrogs, we're lucky to have all three of those things alongside the developer of the algorithm who's been actively trading all traditional markets for 25 years, and just a community of badass traders. That's a really winning combo. And so if you're coming into this for the first time, even if you're here in the class right now, y'all know that just because you see these numbers, it's not as easy to just take a signal and just win 70% of the time. It does have a big factor of how you manage your risk and how you approach these signals. And the most fundamental thing is that we can teach here is how you plan your trade and then trade your plan. And that is what Thor can be integrated into, is a plan that can put you on the right side of probability and make you a profitable trader. So sales pitch aside, all that fun stuff aside, if you want to see how well our algo performs in real time, you can go and look at the previous 30-day trading signals, efficacy, and win rate that we have, all right here. taptrade.io/Thor. For today, and look, great, 78%. Easy to tout, but right before or right below 46%. Okay, that's not what was on the right side of probability, right? You're below a 51% threshold. 65%, great. 62%, great. 56%, not as great, but still on the right side of probability. I can still win more often than lose, and as a trader, that's what you're looking for. Really, when you start getting into some of the things that really shine too, those do, on average, have a short-term and long-term consistency, I'd say. BNB, 66%. Bitcoin, 69%. Unfortunately, 53% in the last 30 days. Volatility will do that. Doge, 67%. The list goes on and on. Ethereum, 74%, 88%. That's wild. We just released Fartcoin. Fun. And we're going to be doing our Fartcoin frenzy starting the 18th, and we're past due releasing details on that, but we will release those today. So if you want to see, this is where I always start too. And this isn't just meant to like pat ourselves on the back about how great our algo is. If you're using Thor, if you're in our community, if you know the Ask Thor system, you can straight up go to this and just see what's performing best. And that's a good place to start. If you just want to make money, if you just want to be a profitable trader, the best place to start is see what the algo is performing really well on. Injective, 69%, 65% cumulatively. That's really great. Alongside risk management, you can request signals on these assets through Ask Thor. Hype, 67% win rate. That's awesome. Jito, 75 in the last 30 days. This is where I always start my train of thought. You know, there are assets that over time I've found that I like to trade or that I own or that I want to have more of. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Jito, those are like I'm going to hold these and I'm going to make more of these for a long time. I don't really care about the price action as much as I care about taking trades that make me more. The same can be said for any of these assets. Litecoin, 85% in the last 30 days. Bonkers. That's wild. That's insane. It's a decent place to start if you don't have like a preference and or like a specific set that you're trading already. If you just want to take trades, start here. Easiest place to start. Sand Bitcoin 100%. That's, on one signal. That's not something crazy, but 79% cumulative. That's wild. So here I am just looking at this, being a little bit proud. Sile, who coded Thor and is part of the proprietary development of it, he did a good job. Thank you, sir. And look, good to bad. TRX, a 35% win rate. I probably wouldn't trade Tronics right now for Tron. I would just wait. So all that said, as you get into navigating our systems and as you get into taking trades, this data is important for you to be referencing at almost all points in time. Someone asked me how well we were at trading Bitcoin earlier. Okay, 15 minutes, 60% in the last 30 days, 44%. Oh, if you saw that, you'd be like, oh man, you guys suck. Well, 62%, 2 out of 3 times cumulatively. On the 4 hour, okay, 33%, 53%. Still, obviously, at that like cusp level, but you can use these. 72% on the 1 day signals. I'm going to take 1 day Bitcoin signals really seriously. There's a 72% chance that they work. That's pretty damn cool. So, prefacing our class today with start by looking at the data. If you just want to take trades, or if you have an asset that you're looking to trade, start by seeing how good we are at trading it, or how good the algo is on a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward at trading it. So, skipping into it, I'm going to cover Bitcoin today for the trading signals. We're going to look at that to see what Papa Bear's doing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use Thor for a bunch of different things like DLMM or liquidity providing too. And we'll cover that towards the end. So, all right, well, here's your free unintentional Solana 1 day signals. But starting there, that makes me happy to see. I'm glad that we can see some upside potential on Solana as an asset. I like that. I like Solana. Love that. Bought a lot under $100. Now that I can see a 62% return on the table, that's awesome. Let's see what happens. But I will be taking profit 161 and 190, 185 area. I sold a lot of my own Solana that I bought at $8 at $180. That was a really great trade. I didn't hold as much as I would have liked to leading up into all-time high, but I still sold more. I sold a lot of my Solana bags on that last pretty big gigapump. I started buying around 160 and below again. I'm really eyeing 190 on Solana, but I'm going to happily take profit on anything sub $100 Solana at 162 for a fat 60% return. If you bought under $100 Solana recently, you did good. If you want to know on where to take profit on some of that badass entry point that you got, 162 is really a good place. You can see that you probably wouldn't sell all of your bag, but that this is a really good return on that investment. You can see when you would buy back in at these levels if you wanted to recompound your gains and make an additional 15 to 25%. Pretty good place to do it. But we're not talking Solana today. Get that shit out of here. We're talking Bitcoin, bro. Papa Bear. If you haven't seen this before, this is our Thor interface. You have to have Cyberfrogs in order to get access to our 24/7 signals, constantly updating, and they're a tier-based system. Frogs fuck. Buy a frog pussy. Probably can't go on YouTube saying that, but we're going to do it anyways. So I'm looking at Bitcoin here. I just see a 72% chance that if we get to $96,000, that's a decent place to sell for a 9 to 15% return. How you use Thor is up to the user, and that's not meant to be some weird douchey blanket statement or anything like that. It's just that there's 1,000 different ways to use Thor because there's 1,000 different people using it. And each time you look at Thor, you'll do so through the lens of your own experiences. All right, bro, get out of the metaphysical bullshit. Like, what does this mean? I will trade differently than you will trade. You will trade differently than the next person, and so on and so forth. Which is why we're going to talk a little bit about DLMMs. People use Thor exclusively to provide liquidity and to know what ranges to do it in. Let's say hypothetically, just looking at this signal. Today we're looking at Thor through the lens of a liquidity provider. You now know your ranges. You know your bend steps to a degree, and you know at a point if you want to provide liquidity. Say you're providing, there's not native Bitcoin on Solana, obviously, but there are now CBBTC. There's obviously Wormhole Bitcoin, which I'm not super stoked on. And then I think that Zeus just finally released their ZBTC. And then there's TBTC. There's a bunch of like one-to-one supposedly pegged Bitcoin. I'm not here to say like native Bitcoin versus pegged Bitcoin's better, whatever the fuck. If you're doing it, this is how you do it. You can set your range within this entry point right here, plus or minus, 3%, whatever it is, whatever your range is, all the way down here. You can bin step all the way out of your liquidity position, averaging out of your Bitcoin all the way down to what you want for your USD entry, and make fees all along the way. You can essentially, if you get good and if you know a lot about, like, we're skipping the basics here on liquidity providing. Like, I'm going to assume that you know somewhat of how to navigate your bins if you're using the Meteora stuff, if you're using dynamic pools, if you're using self-managed pools, whatever it is. If you're using self-managed pools and you're looking to understand what your range is, Thor can help you do that. If you want to know how to isolate your liquidity within a very mathematically precise level, you're providing liquidity and potentially exiting your position based on Thor signals, which has a 72% chance of being right. With liquidity providing, it's a little bit different than just strictly trading. Strictly trading, you're looking to make more of your asset or make more money, right? Liquidity providing is funny because you're also compounding that as a goal. You're either trying to average into a price in a liquidity pool, average out of your position in a liquidity pool, or just hold your position within a specific range that you generate fees on, right? There's a lot of additional components to liquidity providing compared to just trading. It's not as simple as it once was. And there's a lot more customization that you can use given some of what Meteor has put out on the table. It's a really great place in Solana to provide liquidity and really isolate a lot of what you're willing as a liquidity provider to go through. Slippage tolerances, specific ranges, your bin steps, like I keep saying. There's a lot of little bars that you can toggle, and that at the end of the day, if you're doing that within mathematically precise levels, you're going to maximize your yields, and you're going to maximize whatever your ultimate goal is for that specific liquidity, provisioning that you've done. Do you want to average out of your Bitcoin price? You can set your USD Bitcoin leading up into this to average out right there, flip your script, and then go back down, provide liquidity the opposite way, and go back in at 9%. Like I've said, I am not the world's greatest liquidity provider. It's just not me. I'm not in there averaging out. If you want access to that stuff, there's a lot of really great people and really great communities. And even in the Cyberfrogs Discord, a lot of people who will know a lot more than me. But what this goal is meant to really highlight is that you don't have to guess at your ranges. You know what your ranges are, especially on a one-day signal. If you want to provide liquidity against a one-day signal, you know that you're sitting in this position a fairly long time generating fees as people are trading the volatility. You can set your plus or minus on the percentage side. You can know where you want to be completely in or out of it if you're doing either a single-sided or a dual-sided liquidity providing. And you can use these ranges to just navigate your plan. So, for me specifically, that's through the eyes of a DLMM provider. Looking at Thor, you'd probably want to know where your original sell pressure is going to be on a 4-hour signal right here. There you go. Maybe you set a broader range. Maybe you're fine going, let's go out, scale out Bitcoin 91 to 97, 95. 97.5, and then scale in USDC from, let's see what those profits are, right back into the 87 to 83 range. I hope I've said it enough times that I am not a liquidity provider. I actively trade. But what I do hope you can see is that there are ways to use these signals to just know your ranges and at the same time understand where your sell pressure is at and where your buy pressure is going to be. Just simply by looking at the signals, referencing time frame, and then also understanding where your take profits are. For shorts, you know a couple things. Invalidation serves as your support. If you fall through that, the signal is invalidated. And so like anything, when you're looking to either take a trade or provide liquidity, you need to do so in a clean manner, not just circumvent the time that you have to wait or the patience that it takes to get into these signal ranges, but just to wait for them to be clean. Maybe you want to sell your Bitcoin and go single-sided liquidity exit out at 91K. You can do that by setting your DLMM order book right there and then averaging out all the way down to these prices with wherever you feel like your preferred take profit level is. You go single-sided 91K and you're out and fully in USDC at 86. You have effectively generated fees in the liquidity pool while simultaneously taking a Thor signal. If the signal doesn't go the way that you want it to, what do you stand to lose? That depends on your bin sets and all that fun stuff, but that's for someone else to decide, not me. This is a simple way to just go about providing liquidity effectively. Now, switching hats again. From a trading perspective, from a macro boomer trading, hey, here's your boomer trader here. These are two great signals right here. You don't really have to go much further than this if you're looking to be a profitable trader. We could spend another hour talking about Thor and, all of the great signals that it has. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water or even in the class right now, these are two badass signals with a 73% chance. Let me just double check. A 72.2% chance on one signal and then a 53% chance on the other. Let's use that data to effectively, navigate how we'd take these two signals. So I know that the 4-hour signal has a 53% average win rate, and I know that the 1-day signal has a 72% win rate. Which signal do I just hopefully give a shit more about? Well, the 1-day signal. Wicked. Duh. I hope that you can surmise that too. You probably can. I believe in you. You're doing a good job. If you're here and you're watching this, or if you're in the class, you are trying to learn how to use Thor better, and I'm proud of you. So this 1-day signal, 72% chance that this effing thing, if we get into this range, is going to go at least down to take profit 1 on a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio. That's a really good place to either take profit on your spot Bitcoin. Now, I want to talk to y'all because I know we have Bitcoin maxes in the audience already too. I never sell my Bitcoin, Andrew. What the hell are you doing? That's haram. Ugh, jeez. Look, I get it. What I do for my own spot Bitcoin holdings, I'm the same fucking way. I'm going to die with Bitcoin. I'm going to pass it along, but I'm literally going to, that's my end all goal. I want more Bitcoin. I've gotten to the point where I don't really give a shit about most cryptos. Hey, sorry, y'all. I want more Bitcoin and I want Solana. Those are the two that I really convicted long-term know. And Bitcoin, substantially more, considerably more. I don't want to go out selling all my Bitcoin every time I get a signal. But what I do want is I want to make more Bitcoin, right? Fundamental goal. I can allocate 2 to 10%, whatever your personal threshold is, of my personal holdings and sell some. Yeah. Ooh, oh my God, dude, you don't ever sell your Bitcoin. Well, if I can make 10% more from that capital within an effectively short amount of time, you bet your sweet ass I'm going to. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin arbitrarily. I want to make more. I will sell Bitcoin that I bought at $60,000 at $96,000, and then I will buy back down right at take profit 1. I don't have to get cutesy and wait for that extra 5%. I don't care. I want an additional 10% almost. That's a fucking fat signal, y'all. Everyone listening or watching, whatever, that's a really fat signal. And when you get to 96 and the emotional script flips and everyone's bullish. You go on TikTok, you go on YouTube, you go on whatever. Oh my God, bull market's back. I'm selling. And a lot of other people are too. Right there. Right when you get to that psychological almost 100K, which was our big target this cycle. When we hit it, we smashed it, and we went over by 15%, whatever it was. 20%. I think we hit 120 something. Anyways, all that to be said, that's a really fat range with a 72% chance of winning. That's a really good fundamental place to start making your plan. And the plan is, for me, to probably sell like 4%. 3%. That's a lot. That's a lot for people, I think, on a macro level. 10%, you're fucking wilding out. You know what I mean? 3%. I sell 3% right there. I allocate that cash, that fiat, that USDC, that stable coin, whatever it is that I sold it for, with the sole intention of buying more Bitcoin at that first take profit level. Boom. I just made 9% more Bitcoin on that capital. That's badass. That compounds over time really drastically. Now, flipping the script again. We've worn the hat of two different traders here. We've worn the hat of a liquidity provider, and we know I can set a single-sided sell right here down to this take profit collecting fees. I've set it from a spot coin boomer ass trader who just wants more Bitcoin. I'm going to sell a small percentage of my Bitcoin at this price, recompound back in these same take profit levels and these same entry points. They don't change, but the goal does. And now for a perpetuals trader. You don't give a shit about Bitcoin as a base asset. You don't give a shit about liquidity providing. You just want to take a trade and make more money, bro. Sick. You can also do that. Let's talk about that. You haven't needed a stop loss in a DLMM. You haven't needed a stop loss as a spot trader, but you do need a stop loss and a take profit zone for a perpetuals trader. That's where risk management comes into play. And you've heard me say 1 to 1.5 fucking 1,000 times already. This is this fun little risk management calculator that we have that makes it all worth it. I'm a perpetuals trader. I've got that hat on right now. I've got a $10,000 trading account, all right? For a risky trader, balls to the wall, you'll go 10% on a trade. You'll put up 10% of your capital on a trade. Let's just say degenerate trading here. I'm going super risk on. I'm going to risk 10% of my portfolio on this trade because Andrew keeps telling me and the data says, hey, that's got a 72% historical win rate. Now, past performance is not indicative of future performance. We all know that. Risk management is key when being a profitable trader, and plan your effing trade. So wearing that hat, knowing I have a $10,000 account, and that I have said, I want to be really degenerate. I want to risk 10% of my portfolio on this trade. Because I look at this and I say, hot damn, that's a 72% chance it's going to be right. And some bitch, that's a 100% chance. Last fucking 30 days. Look, one signal. We're not going to pat ourselves on the back for that, but still. Numbers don't lie. That's sick. Maybe this is the one signal that doesn't work out. Maybe this short signal fucking pumps to infinity and we go back to all-time high. Risk management, MFer, that's your friend, not your enemy. And this little quackulator right here can help. You see a signal, doesn't matter which one it is, doesn't matter the asset. If you're a perpetual trader, use risk management or you're being dumb as fuck. I personally, we don't have like leverage in this calculator, and I will still not really use leverage in the traditional sense. I won't go out and say I have $10,000. I'm going to put a 20x on it and all of that 10,000 is going on it. That's not how I do it, right? I want to risk 10% of my portfolio. I'm going to say I'm willing to lose $1,000 because that's the risk I'm putting up, right? We got to that point. I want to risk $1,000 on this trade. Show me what's up. This right here. Let me just go back. Risk. How much do you want to lose? How much are you willing to lose? We don't want to lose shit, Andrew. What are you talking about? I'm willing to risk $1,000 on this trade. 10% of my hypothetical trading portfolio. Well, Andrew keeps saying 1 to 1.5. Jesus, shut the hell up. What's all this? 1 to 1, 1 to 2. I'm willing to risk a dollar. I'm willing to risk losing a dollar to make a dollar. I'm willing to risk losing a dollar to make $1.50. I'm willing to risk losing a dollar to make $2. Your risk to reward is exactly that. What are you willing to risk versus what do you want to make? Don't fucking guess about it. Make your damn plan. Now, I've said 1 to 1.5 is how we calculate all of our stuff. Pretty decent place to start, especially considering there's a 9% trading range on this signal between the first take profit. On the world's largest cryptocurrency, with a 72% chance of being an accurate signal, there's a 9 point something percent fucking trading delta. All of those numbers get tossed out, and what does it really like boil down to? Well, fucking let's take a trade, bro. I'm going to take a 1 to 1.5 trade, and this is going to tell me where I'm setting my short. We're perpetuals traders with this hat on right now. How much am I going to short 0.16? At what price? And at what point do I need to sell that position to make $1,500? Right there. First take profit, 87,974. Cool. That's not so bad, man. I'm willing to put up, let's just backtrack again. Now we know we've confirmed the prices, we've confirmed entry, we've confirmed all the data, all that good shit, right? Now, just simple math. You don't have to be a fucking mathematician, y'all. I've waited to finish my college algebra for the final year of my college career. Right? This was the last semester was my freshman class of fucking algebra. I hate math. Surprise. Fuck math. I'm glad that there are mathematicians out there. Oh my God, thank you, but not my bread and butter. But you can say, now that 1 to 1.5, you know like how that sort of works. You know that you're trying to make about 10%. You just fucking good old college try. You know that your stop loss is going to be something like 5%. That you're willing to lose 5% of that trade to make 9%. Or, using the risk to reward calculator again, you can basically, it will tell you your virtual stop loss for a 1 to 1, for a 1 to 1.5. So this is about a 4.86 whatever percent pump past that short signal. Make sense? I hope it's starting to click. You don't have to go out and take 1,000 different trades to make money, y'all. In fact, if you're just learning how to trade, you should find these exact signals like what I just covered today, and you should fucking hammer them. And you should learn how to effectively integrate that into your own ape brain. If you can do that repetitively on just Bitcoin alone, y'all, you're going to be fine. You start getting fucked up and you start getting really, overwhelmed when you start trying to do it on too many assets all at once. Or whatever it may be, the recommendation is to keep it simple. And we just did that. And I would be proud of anyone for making 9% on a Bitcoin trade. And you should be too. You should be even more proud of them if they did that as a DLMM provider by understanding where your single-sided is and where you've been stepping out by. I'm such a terrible liquidity provider. I don't even know if all of the terminology I'm using is exactly right, but you know what I mean. We know what it's like as a spot trader looking to just make more Bitcoin overall and as a perpetual trader. All three valid ways to use Thor. All three very different. All three perfectly relevant to making money. And that's what the goal is here. So that's a fun, I'd say, dimensional way to look at Thor. And it's a fun way to understand that you don't just have to be binary about how I use it. What we are, really aiming to do here in these classes, or even if you're finding this, after the fact on TikTok, is we want you to have a place to dip your toe in the water and start. And where you go from there is largely up to you. But the thing that it's completely reliant on is your ability to try and your ability to research, learn from your mistakes, learn from not having proper risk management. Shit happens. Traders are black and blue and have bruises and war wounds. That's part of trading, y'all. Thor can at least help circumvent a lot of this shit if you just integrate the proper risk management. So that's really largely what I had for the Thor specific stuff. I'm going to cover one more thing real quick and then we're going to bounce out. I'm going to go to Hyperliquid. Now, we just talked about a lot of ways that you can use Thor to manage your own personal bags. The burden of that is time, patience, emotional regulation, and a lot of the difficulty in just being a trader. It's fucking hard. That's why not a lot of people do it. We can help you be better at it right on. One of the ways that we can help other people who don't want to take that plunge or want to, on some level, have some of this automated for them, well, we're doing that too. We are ideally a few weeks out from releasing this outside of the closed testing that we've been doing. It's open, it's live on Hyperliquid, but our goal here is to have a fully automated trading contract which automates all of what I just talked about. Finding the best trades, setting and performing proper risk management, setting your ideal stop losses as it, pertains to that specific trading signal, and doing one other thing that you can't really do. Find the damn trades effectively and take them. There are thousands of trading signals that get generated by Thor. And it's almost inhuman to be able to go through, process all of that data, and then make a decision, hey, this is the best trade to take out of these. What we're doing is implementing that logic and that tech into the Hyperliquid trading vault. And that we can go through, calculate 15-minute signals, 1 hour, 4 hour, 1 day signals, balance the portfolio, manage the risk properly, take micro and macro trading signals, build up macro positions, do what a traditional hedge fund or traditional trading management firm would operate a trading contract under. Now, I am not doing this. This is AI managed. This is machine learning managed. This is Thor managed. And we're really excited about it. Markets have been in an absolute nosedive since we've started it. We have a history of releasing really cool trading stuff right before FTX, for instance. First Thor trading contract happened a week before FTX or something. And we released and started beta testing this right throughout all the trading war FUD, right through some of the Hyperliquid FUD, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. All this to say, we've outperformed the market considerably well already, even given the really difficult conditions that this has started out on. It was also beta testing for a long time, so the way that the APR and P&L is all calculated really varies pretty drastically. But the best way to go through and see how this vault is performing is to just look at the trade history. And I always like to just click View All and start with the bad. See where all of our stop losses were hit, and you can just quickly surmise sort of what's going on here. I don't want to gloss over anything, but these are either funding or negative funding fees or stop losses hit. And you can see, obviously, we did hit some. And then you can switch it to positive trades closed. And it's again, not being a mathematician or anything like that. We're already on the right side of profitability. We're already executing more profitable trades than the stop losses that we've hit. We are already very proud of how the vault is performing. These are things that will obviously expand over time as Hyperliquid releases additional functionality like more of the spot functionality, which is something that we're excited about. But right now, the Perpetuals account is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. And it's trading like Thor would. And that's something that we're really excited to show people, not just the last 30 days, but like we really like to do the last year. We're going to give people a big, broad piece of the pie. And we're going to show people exactly how we navigate the markets. Bear markets, bull markets, doesn't fucking matter. It's always Thor markets. It's always tap markets. This contract will be how we show that and how we automate that for other people too. So if you're not in Hyperliquid, it is a really great trading platform. We've really enjoyed trading on it. It's been great. Yeah, if you want to see how the vault's performing, you can go to hyperliquid.xyz and under the vault, just do tap. And we are right here, tap trade. Markets have been down. I don't even know. You have to find timestamp and all that stuff. I wish I could see it. But you just saw on that opening page, this vault is up 2%. Now, when you deposit into the vault versus when you exit the vault, how your P&L is all calculated, all is based on what time you either enter or exit the contract, based on if there are trades that are hitting stop losses or take profit levels, obviously. And it's a simple 24-hour cooldown period from the time that you deposit to the time that you can withdraw. And there's simply a 10% performance fee. There's absolutely no money that it costs for people to essentially copy trade Thor, other than a performance fee, and it's 10%. So you're going to see, ooh, icky numbers, blah, blah, blah. This is all stuff that I don't have to think about anymore. And that historically speaking, and even in the past 30 days, it doesn't matter. The risk management's in place, the automation's in place, the calculations have been quackulated. Thor knows what it's doing better than I ever could. I only interpret Thor, straight up. Thor is Thor. This is Thor. And this is going to trade like Thor does. And this is something I'm really excited about showing people. And this is also something I'm really excited for our community at CyberFrogs to get absolute first dibs on and have additional incentives built out over time as well. But this is something that we've all been really wanting and looking forward to. And I guess I'm excited to tell y'all it's almost here. So this will be a fun conversation, I think, in the next couple of days and the next couple of weeks. So anyways, y'all, that's it for me. I appreciate y'all. If you want to learn more about Thor, if you want to find out how to use Thor to help you either with your liquidity providing, your spot trading strategy, your perpetuals trading strategy, or your stocks, your Forex signals, or just about anything, visit taptrade.io to learn more. Join us in Discord. Please join us in our Telegram channel as well. And we look forward to telling you more about it. We'll put you on the right side of probability as well. And the goal here is just to be a more profitable trader. We think we can help you with that. So peace out, y'all. Frogs fuck. Thor Prince. Later.